It's your council. Take part in it. Learn about the PD Area Council coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Allen Clemens campsite at Camp Coker. The PD Area Council of the Boy Scouts camp here in Society Hill, and we're focused on the camp's 75th anniversary. We're visiting with Jim Head, the Scout Executive for the PD Area Council, essentially Scouting CEO. Good morning, Jim.
How are you doing, Greg?
Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
It's my pleasure.
Incredible to kick off this week, to think of so many folks will be in here, sitting here at the Clemens campsite. Right behind us, the lake, and so much going on. All the boys arrived on Friday. A lot's hopping now. Obviously, things will be kicking off. It'll be packed from now till the end of the summer.
That is correct. We're real excited. Brand new facilities. Just a real action-packed summer plan.
Incredible. And Jim, just last weekend, the weekend before, Camp Coker hosted what I believe is the largest sectional of the Order of the Arrow in America.
We were just so excited and so pleased with that turnout. We had over 1,000 young men and advisors camping here at Camp Coker. It was the largest event that was held in the United States for a sectional conclave, which we didn't find out until after it was over, because the national chief was here and he was talking about what an outstanding event it had been. So it was something to see and to be a part of.
Could this have happened 3 years ago before much of the renovations began here at Camp Coker?
Unfortunately, no, it could not have. There's no way. In fact, the largest conclave that had ever been held here was 600 people, and they were just totally jammed in. And yet we had a wonderful event. It was a time when you walk around, and quite frankly, everybody complimented Santee Lodge on their hospitality, on what an outstanding facility and camp we had. In fact, I didn't have one complaint, which was just amazing.
With 1,000-some boys here.
You just can't imagine. And the excitement, you couldn't help but be here and then walk away at night and have trouble sleeping because of the things that went on, the citizenship, the moral character of these young men. And these were our older scouts, too. This is our camping fraternity, so it's really a special evening.
Golly, Jim. Now, obviously, 72 hours ago, young boys started arriving here at camp. To think through all the activities that will be going on, y'all are slammed this summer.
I'll tell you, it's so exciting. Again, our Cub Scouts will be arriving here this Friday, and it's going to be just every week. It looks like the camp is going to be totally full. We've added additional weeks, 2 additional weeks. It looks like we may have to add a third.
Golly, as you think through all the scouts and volunteers and leaders that'll be here this summer, how does that make you feel, Jim?
You know, the other day, I attended a fundraising event in Hartsville, and Eddie Drayton stood up, and he's one of our board members. Went through scouting here as a youth, Eagle, continues now as our vice president of properties. He started talking about what his experiences at Camp Coker had meant to him. And as I looked around the room, just kind of, quite frankly, I had tears in my eyes. I noticed everybody else was doing the same thing and nodding their heads. This camp has been changing young people's lives and adults' lives for 75 years. I don't think you can get the impact for what happens out here. And it's not just spending the night or tying knots. It's teaching young men leadership. It's helping build their character. It shapes their lives throughout their life.
Truly. And it starts right out here. Of course, it starts when the folks commit to volunteer, to help set up a troop, to think about all the activities that go into that, but the experience to be out here for a week. Do boys ever have the opportunity to come out for more than a week in the summer?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we'll have a special OA event again at the end of this for our Santee Lodge and for all the past members to come back and visit Camp Coker. We're trying to put together a staff reunion so that people who were here in 1928 can come out and celebrate the 75th anniversary with us. So it's exciting.
Can you share with the viewers a little bit about some of the changes that have happened out at Camp Coker during your tenure since 1997 when you arrived at the council?
I'll tell you, our camping committee and our properties committee have just done wonderful things. We're sitting in a brand new campsite, and as you can see, just a beautiful view.
It is.
We're moving all of our campsites to the lake. It's cooler. It presents a better atmosphere. We have 2 brand new campsites. We're renovating all the campsites. In fact, this week, Holiday, which is one of our premier campsites, as a result of a gift from the Holiday family, will be upgrading their shelter and building a new restroom facility for them. Case and Copenhagen are being renovated. So every campsite out here is going to be brand spanking new. It's just an exciting time to be a part of it. We have 2 brand new central showers, one on the east side and one on the west side. And over as you approached into the camp, you saw where we were preparing the site for our brand new dining hall, which will be the Doctors Bruce and Lee Dining Hall. So we're just $1.5 million in renovation and just continually making improvements so that we can impact the lives of young people.
There are still so many efforts, though, obviously being here with you and Ed Saleeby this morning, to think, even though lots been raised for capital improvement, there's still so many needs. I mean, so many volunteers give so many hours, but there's so many needs, financial needs for scouting, operating expenses that go on, Jim.
You know, we've tried not to talk about our operating needs because it seems like all nonprofits are having an extremely difficult time. And yet with our growth, for the first time, we're having serious shortfalls. And the capital side of the house is a totally different operation from the operating fund. That's where we actually deliver the program to the boys. And so we are seeking additional help in that area.
If a viewer was interested in either volunteering their time or knew somebody who could donate some funds to scouting, or if they themselves, who would they want to call, Jim?
Call me. I will get back with them.
Jim Head, absolutely.
Yes,
that's 843-662-6306.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, great. When we think about the campsites out here, Jim, for a viewer who may not have experienced camping, who may have never been camping before, what's it like for a boy or a young woman the first time they visit Camp Coker?
Well, first of all, we have planned activities, and we focus on high adventure programs and fun things that all young people, quite frankly, you and I enjoy doing. Everything from kayaking, canoeing, motorboating, fishing, our cope course, which is a high ropes adventure course, rappelling. We have a climbing wall, shooting clays, 22, just everything that you can think of that is fun to do. But also, I think, is an important opportunity to get to know one another and get to know young men and women from all over our state. We'll have people from North Carolina, from Georgia, coming in this summer, and really get to see what portion of the PD is going to be here, because most of our units will come to this camp, and you get to see that you're part of a major organization nationwide.
Absolutely. Golly, Jim, as I sit here and think about it, I think about the activities, the experience of having been blessed, Carolina people have been blessed with the opportunity to kick off our show, taping at the Service Center or being there last August, then being over at the Convention Center that week, as y'all were highlighting the Distinguished Citizens Award Dinner, being back at the Service Center in February. The Distinguished Citizens Award Dinner and banquet was such a special time, and even though it's not held here at Camp Coker, and it's not celebrating 75 years, it still celebrates the lives of some amazing men and women throughout our area. Can we talk for a second? We've got a couple of minutes. Can we talk about the DCA dinner this year and some of the folks that will be honored?
Well, this year is a very special year. In fact, we are tying our 75th anniversary to the Distinguished Citizens Dinner. The individual that we'll be honoring this year, and probably is one of the most deserving candidates we've ever had, is Dr. Frank Lee Sr. And we're so excited. He has 2 Eagle sons. If we'd had the venturing program, I'm sure she'd been in the venturing program at that time too. But we're also going to focus on this year, we're going to have a selection of a Scout Executive Honor Troop, a Scout Executive Honor Pack, and that'll be for the whole council. And then we'll have a council honor pack and troop for every district that we serve, and they will be at the Distinguished Citizens Dinner that evening, and we'll recognize them. These are people who have really exemplified what scouting is all about, these units. We're also going to have the Scout Executive Venture Crew and the Scout Executive Exploring Post. And these people will be notified in the next couple of weeks. It's been a very rigorous process of selecting them. But they really are the epitome of what our program is all about. So we're real excited, and we'll have their leaders and those young people there to be recognized.
Great, Jim. I hope you'll let Carolina people get out and highlight some of the folks through the dinner and banquet and so many deserved recipients.
Oh, it'll be such a special evening, and we certainly hope that you'll be there. Expect for you to be there, Greg.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Jim, you know, when we think about the volunteers and we think about, I think a lot of folks may not know, both men and women, that they can volunteer their time or their resources, but particularly their time oftentimes, just getting somebody involved. How would a female viewer and how would a male viewer have the opportunity to volunteer some of their time or resources to the Boy Scouts?
If they're interested in getting involved with our program, we have an extensive training program that we will actually come into their place of business or their church or their school, and we'll train them to help bring this wonderful program to young people. And I'm glad you mentioned young ladies and women, because our venturing program, we've been slow in introducing it to this area, but it is really going to become a major focal point for us. And right now, quite frankly, there wouldn't be a Boy Scouts if it was not for women involved in our program. From the den leader positions and cub master positions, we have women scout masters, and they're doing a wonderful job changing young people's lives.
Absolutely. Jim, lastly, we got 30 seconds. When do scouting values kick in?
You know, I've said this 100 times, and after last weekend, I'm more convinced than ever. I think they kick in about 30 or 40 years old. I think that's when you look back and you say, this is the character they talked about. This is what they meant when they said, is honor important? Is duty important? Duty to God, duty to country, helping other people, and most of all, following those 12 points of the Scout Law. You know, we've talked about our country. It's on the news every night. But, you know, Boy Scouts of America, we still wear the flag on our uniform, and we still say the Pledge of Allegiance every time we meet.
Absolutely. You heard Jim Head say it, a man who's committed almost 50 years of his life to scouting in those 12 tenets. Jim Head, the Scout Executive for the PD Area Council of the Boy Scouts. Jim, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Appreciate it.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Ed Saleeby coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Alan Clemens campsite at Camp Coker in Society Hill. We're focused on the PD Area Council of the Boy Scouts and the 75th anniversary of Camp Coker. And we're visiting with the council's president, Ed Saleeby Jr., an attorney with Saleeby and Cox out of Hartsville. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for being with us again this morning. This is your fourth time on Carolina People.
Fourth time, I'm honored.
I think you are the one and only that has been on our inaugural edition when we taped at the PD Area Council Service Center, and then when we were at the former Civic Center for the Distinguished Citizens Award dinner, and again back at the Service Center, and now here at Camp Coker.
Well, I've been around the Boy Scouts for a while now.
And to think you've had so much to do with Camp Coker being as successful as it is now, Ed.
Very proud of it.
Truly. Can we talk real quick about yourself for viewers who may not have seen you the other three times? Are you originally from the area?
Just 14 miles down the road in Hartsville, where I was raised and grown up. And I came up here as a scout for 4 years with my troop for the annual summer things and some things in the fall, camp reeds and that kind of thing. I knew it needed change back then. And when I set out as president, I pledged to try to fix the place up. And we've done a pretty good job at that, I think.
Absolutely. What about your service as president, Ed? How long have you served as the council's president?
Greg, I'm in my third year as council president. When they asked me to do it 2 years before that, I was vice president of finance, which means in fundraising. and watching the books. But the present, it should be 1 year. And then when we had this vision to help out here at the camp and secure extra monies and whatnot, going a really very big capital and endowment campaign. I guess the council just thought it made sense to keep me on to try to see the vision to the finish.
That's amazing, Ed. The foresight they had was to push you for the second term, but to think about coming in a third year.
Third term.
That is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's not been done in quite a while.
I know. Well, I guess in that position in the first 2 years as Vice President of Administration, and think about all the issues involved with fundraising there, you really knew the needs of the council about as intimately as anyone.
I did, because we had to and did. We tripled and quadrupled the annual fund budget just for the operating.
Ed, where did you attend school?
In Hartsville, and then B's and C's were not good enough for my parents, so they sent me down to Porter-Gaud, down in prep school in Charleston for a few years, but I came back to Hartsville and graduated from Hartsville High. Went on to South Carolina and graduated from there and graduated from Carolina Law School.
Right. Son of a gun. So you have stayed virtually in South Carolina your entire life.
I have. My practice takes me all over the East Coast, but it's my home base, the PD region.
How long have you been practicing, Ed?
It's hard to imagine or believe, but 25 years. I'm in my 25th year.
We are celebrating 75 years at Camp Coker, and you're just a third of that.
I'm just a third of that.
How long the camp's been out here, and so many efforts that have gone into making this a success. Do you still have family in the area?
I do. I have 2 children, and in Hartsville that are going to school there, and one at Carolina who's a freshman. All of whom I'm proud of, and my mother here in Hartsville, and other relatives.
Were you a Boy Scout as a young man, Ed?
I was. My mother was a den mother, and I was with her for probably as long as she could stand it. Then I went with another den mother, and then moved right on into the Boy Scouts and made my way. Not all the way to Eagle, because that's when I got sent to prep school. In prep school, they didn't have Boy Scouts. But I made it to life. I think I was 3 merit badges away from making Eagle. That's
amazing. Are any of your children involved in scouting, Ed?
My oldest child, he's Edward III. We call him Son. He's an Eagle Scout, and he's really done well. And I hope to have he and one of my other children working up here this summer with other scouts.
Well, to think what a beautiful Monday out here, to think we're out here and enjoying. Obviously, we got bugs all around us, as the director of the show pointed out. We're at a campsite, Greg. You're going to live with it, and it's a thrill to be out here. To think your children will be experiencing this, or your son will be out here this summer, as well as so many other young boys and girls who've been through Camp Coker. It is truly amazing. What benefits did you and your son derive, you think, from the scouting experience in particular, Ed?
Well, Greg, it creates a particular bond when you do hands-on work with your child in acquiring certain merit badges. Now, I had to go to law school because my manual ability was screwing in light bulbs about all I could do. But I did help my son with a number of the merit badges and his Eagle project, and that's all fun. I think that, particularly in today's times, the more time that a parent can spend with any of the children, whether it be a boy or a girl, the better off the child would be.
How important is Camp Coker, where we are today, 75th anniversary, how important is this to the scouting program for the 11-county PD Area Council, Ed?
I think it's probably one of the most important aspects of the entire of council. Obviously, we have to have the everyday and week-to-week service, which we've been working on hard, which is very good. But we just had, of course, we filled up this summer for camp. We hadn't been in a long time. The kids have come out and seen it, and they really want to come here of all the new additions. It's the focal point of the scouting year. I've had 2 of my children go to Camp Philmont out west, but they still like to come back to Camp Coker and experience it here. And this is all new to them. It wasn't there when they attended here. Mm-hmm. Eagle Scout.
Ed, and you mentioned some of the improvements going on out here. What are some of the improvements that viewers who may have grown up attending Coker or had children, sons, grandchildren, what are some of the improvements that have occurred even during your tenure over the last 5 years?
Well, all of the improvements have occurred over the last three and a half years. Mm-hmm. This, where we are right now, new campsites. We have new, hard to believe, air-conditioned facilities for older campers and mm-hmm. male and female plumbing as opposed to just latrines. Mm-hmm. The living quarters spaced out over camp. We're still building them are much different other than the almost rotten tents that we had when we came mm-hmm. out here. Mm-hmm. And then we have the COPE course, which has been nationally certified. Mm-hmm. We have one of the best COPE courses in the country. And people and the industries from around the area have brought their employees here mm-hmm. to teach skills of working together, mm-hmm. which is what COPE is about, mm-hmm. co-interdependence. Mm-hmm. And none of that was here 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So all of that's been done in the last several years through the millions of dollars that we've raised.
Yeah, how are those projects? How are the projects being funded? How have you gone about raising those funds? We
put together a very good financial campaign, mm-hmm. and it was led by Mr. Charlie Coker, who's chairman of the board of Sunoco Products Company in Hartsville, and he did an excellent job along with many other people. And Jim Head and I, that part of the campaign's been officially closed, but mm-hmm. we've raised about another $2 million since then. And I've been doing a lot of talking and beating on doors, and mm-hmm. and when people see what we've done, and it's coming easier now, they don't mind contributing for the welfare of the youth. Mm-hmm. We serve the entire PD.
Obviously, as council president, and prior to that as VP of administration, you know the vitality of not only making these long-term commitments to Camp Coker, but also through the Friends of Scouting. There are still needs throughout the PD Area Council of the Boy Scouts.
There's a huge need, Greg, and I appreciate you mentioning that because, well, it's one thing to spend all this money and raise it on capital improvements, and we've done that. But we've also taken scouting from servicing about 6,000 scouts in the area, and a little less than that, to over 12,000. And so with each of those, I mean, just a little small amount of dues that a child pays does not cover anything towards really the cost of taking care of that child. Mm-hmm. So we started a program. This was 5 years ago before it became popular with different governments and whatnot, about Leave No Child Alone, because I saw when I was a kid and have seen children left at home because they couldn't afford to come up here or to participate in the program. So we have funds available for scholarships for people that need it.
I know that no child should be left at home was really a slogan that was coined as you took over the tenure as the president of PD Area Council. And I think it has been actuated to a great degree, great degree. So many more children have gotten involved. And I think the PD Area Council has been one of the fastest growing councils in America, back to back.
It has for 2 years in a row been the fastest growing council in America. And we've received 2 National President's Awards for that, and possibly a third.
Ed, what I'm blown away by is the amount of time and financial resources, but particularly the amount of time you and your family have donated to the PD Area Council of the Boy Scouts. It is amazing. What has motivated that commitment?
Well, my family are all from this area. Saleeby is a Lebanese name, but my grandfather literally came off the boat back in the early 1900s, very poor. Worked his way hard, though, and the community has been good. My father was in the Senate for 30 years. The community has been wonderful to my family. Mm-hmm. We've gone through hardships, but we've been blessed by the community. And we were always taught, Dad always taught us, don't ever forget where you came from. And it might be several generations back, but don't ever forget where you came from. So we've not done that. Mm-hmm. And so we want to provide service to the children, and that means all children, who are the future of the PD and indeed our future leaders of the area and South Carolina.
Absolutely. And when you think back at that service aspect, your service as tenure of the president of the PD Area Council, can you think of any accomplishment in particular over the last 3 years as president you're probably most proud?
Yes, Greg. Well, we've quadrupled the financial budget for the operating budget, and that's just operating, and that's still a need. People still need to give. People say, "Well, Ed, y'all raised all this money for the camp." I said, "Yes, that's gone into improvement. We still need, because we're handling so many more scouts than we were before, more money. So we've done that, and we're continuing to do that. We're up close to the somewhere around the $5 million mark now in terms of what we've raised and have pledged towards the camp and the endowment fund. And that's, when you compare that to other councils that are even much larger and from a more better off economic area than we are, that's quite an achievement. And then I feel great about the number of kids where we've gone into the schools and taken care of the children and with mentoring and teaching them basic life skills. My wife passed away just about 2 months ago, and I know how important it is as a single parent to have other people help and to add and instill values with children. And so I would imagine my tenure as president and vice president before that would be the thing I'm the most proud of that I've ever done in my life.
It's a great way to wrap, Ed. A man who served 5 years on the executive board, the last 3 years of the fastest growing council for the Boy Scouts of America, back to back. Incredible growth, incredible strength, still a lot more to do, and he is turning the reins over at an amazing time at the PD Area Council and Camp Coker are at a level that no one would have ever dreamed 5 years ago. Ed Saleeby, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you so much, too, Craig.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. Call 843-662-6306 to learn how you can make a positive impact in the lives of our youth.